I mentioned to you guys, ESPN does their power rankings once a week. I think it's every Wednesday that they do their power rankings. So let's take a quick look at this. See how this looks from your guys' angle, your guys' view. Okay. So they do their power rankings. I'm always curious, where the Lakers at? Where's this at? This was before yesterday's game. So Cleveland, OKC, 1 and 2. Okay, no surprise. Boston, all right. Houston's in the top 5, 6, 7. Here are the Lakers, number 8, which I think is kind of funny that the Lakers lose 2 games in a row and stay at number 8. Okay, I wasn't paying any attention to that. Let's read this thing here together. If LA could keep the best 3 players in Anthony Davis, LeBron James, and Austin Reeves, I think we all agree that Austin Reeves is a top 3 player on this Lakers team. If you don't believe that, I don't know what you're watching. His upside is much higher than anybody else's. If you want to make a case for anybody else, Dorian Finney-Smith, we've only seen for 3-4 games or however long he's been here. Rui Hachimura, let's not even start the conversation there. Rui Hachimura has been very frustrating for most Laker fans. Vando hasn't been on the floor in almost a year. Gabe Vincent has stole $11 million from the Lakers a year. So I could go down the list of all the other players. Austin Reeves is the 3rd best player on this Lakers team. I'll keep reading this. If LA could keep its best 3 players in AD, LeBron, Austin Reeves, while adding a 2-time All-Star like Zach LaVine for a package of Rui, Gabe, Vando, Jalen Hood-Schifino, and draft capital, it would give Redick's offense a much-needed boost while not sacrificing too much on the defensive end. Dorian Finney-Smith could step into Hachimura's role, and LA could be a destination for buyout players for the stretch run. LaVine's averaging 23 points, shows his splits, and still just 29 years old and can help LA now and in the future, Dave McMenamin. I looked at that, right out the gate. I'm like, huh? What's going on here? What happened? Are we still having a conversation about, let me change this up real quick. I know you guys want to see this face. Look at this face. What a pretty face. That kind of threw me off. That threw me off. And look, I get it. This time of the year, we're throwing out trade scenarios and everything else, but I haven't heard Zach LaVine's name in a long time. And then I heard it here. And then I also was kind of told once D'Lo was gone, going after a 3rd star was kind of out the window, right? You're not going to go get Brandon Ingram or Jimmy Butler or the De'Aaron Fox thing. That's not going to happen. They're never going to make a trade the Kings are never going to make a trade with the Lakers. So I saw the Zach LaVine deal. I'm like, all right, well, let's look at this Lakers team. What would that 5 look like going into the playoffs? Zach LaVine, Austin Reeves. Reeves clearly needs help on the ball. Teams are going to bully Austin Reeves, and they are figuring out how to play him. That doesn't mean that Reeves can't have good games, but teams are clearly like, all right, this is what we're going to do to Austin Reeves. Number 1, we're going to go at him every single time on the defensive side to try to tire him out, and it's an advantage. And number 2, on the offensive end, we're going to body that dude up, and he's going to have to figure it out. And you know what happened last game against Dallas when they did that? He fired off 11 threes. That's not good offense for Austin Reeves. That's not good basketball for the Lakers. And he only took 15 shots. So 11 of his shot attempts were from the 3-point line. Okay, let me go back to what the starting lineup would look like for the Lakers. Zach LaVine, Austin Reeves, Dorian Finney-Smith, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis. Now, did you get rid of depth on your team? You did. Rui's no longer a part of the lineup. By the way, you can even in that scenario, if you wanted Max Christie in the starting lineup and bring Austin Reeves off the bench, you can also use that as an option. So now you have more of a defensive player in Max Christie. Now you got another scoring punch that's coming off the bench in Austin Reeves. And I think for a lot of players here or a lot of fans here that are saying, well, you need a position where Austin Reeves comes off the bench so there's not as much on his shoulders. What I think people are failing to realize in the Austin Reeves conversation, I think what they're failing to realize is that Austin Reeves is he's not a luxury, he's a necessity. Lakers don't have a choice. It's a necessity to have him play 30-plus minutes. It's a necessity to have him have the ball in his hands as often as he does. There just aren't any other options. So that's the reality there. But that gives you some options there. Like he just said, what would it look like in the buyout market? What other players would you get? This is the depth that you would leave if you traded for Zach LaVine. And I got a couple angles on this that we'll get into as well. If you went Zach LaVine, Okay, Rui, one of your starters and a depth guy is gone. I will lose zero sleep in that. Gabe Vincent, a player that we rarely see, and if he has a game where he scores in double figures, 10 points or 12 points, we go on the post-game show and talk like he dropped 70. That's how that's how infrequent that happens for him. Vando, who I'm a fan of, we haven't seen the entire year, so he hasn't played with the Lakers in literally 11 plus months. So what are you really losing there? Again, I don't want to lose Vando. I think he's valuable to this Lakers team, but we haven't seen him in a year. And then Jalen Hood-Schifino, I don't need to say anything. Lakers already made a decision on him. They're not giving him a contract after this year. No problem. Jalen Hood-Schifino leaves. So what are you really losing? I think what you're losing more than anything else is Vando. Vando's the piece, and Rui. Listen, I don't want to make it sound like Rui's nothing. The problem with Rui is he's just wildly inconsistent. And if you're trying to win right now, Rui's got to be in a deal no matter what, just to make the dollars worth and the money work. So that's one angle of it. Here's the second question. I'm going to give everybody just an idea. Are you ready for a Zach LaVine, Anthony Davis future? Because here's what Zach LaVine's got on the books. He's 43 this year, 45 next year, and then he's got a player option for 49 in 2026, 2027. The one thing I disagree with when it comes to Dave McMenamin here, that he's still just 29, can help LA now and in the future. I got to be honest. I think this is more of a now move. I don't think it's more of a future move. I don't look at Zach LaVine as, hey, that's a cornerstone that you can have on your team for the next 5 years. He's injury prone. I don't know, how much is this guy going to need the ball in his hands? I'm not telling you Zach LaVine's trash, because that's not the case at all. But I look at this move more for the short term. I don't look at the long term. If you told me right now that the Chicago Bulls, I don't know what the draft compensation is. I don't know if they're asking for 2 first rounders. Let's just say this. Let's say the Chicago Bulls said, yep, we'll take all that to make the money work. Plus, we get a guy in Rui that we can flip next year. Plus, we get a guy in Gabe. Maybe they flip. Maybe they decide Jared Vanderbilt's the right guy, but got to get those 2 first rounders. You doing it? Is this the guy? Are you flipping 2 first rounders to say that team and that rock? By the way, I think that's a really good team for the next year or two. I do. I do think that if it's Zach LaVine, Austin Reeves, Max Christie, Dorian Finney-Smith, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, I'm sure I'm missing some other players off the top of my head here that will find a way to contribute to the Lakers. You can get some guys in the buyout market. You're giving yourself a shot in the West, where right now I think that, it's pretty clear that really, really competing in the Western Conference or winning an NBA championship, you're a couple pieces away. All right, let's take a look at some of the comments here. Let's see what some people are thinking about this. Okay, here's oh hell nah, 49 mil. I like Vando, so good defensively. Here's the problem with Vando. When are we going to see him? Laker in Hawaii. Good morning, Slee. I'm late. What did I miss? Don't worry, brother. You're on YouTube. You just rewind. Go back. Rewind like it's a VHS. 43 mil isn't crazy when you see the garbage the Lakers have. Well, I'm going to tell you, all those players that I just named off, none of them have done anything for the Lakers significantly. All right, let's see what else we got here. Austin Reeves, either a 2 or he's off the bench. That's right. I forgot about Cam. Cam can give you something. I'm okay with Cam. I'm okay with Cam Reddish. By Rui, Vincent, and Vando. I forgot he was on the Lakers. Vando hasn't played in a year. You're losing the opportunity to make a better trade. What's that trade going to be? What trade are you referring to? Because I think if it's not that trade, then I think you're basically you're working around the edges. I didn't think, and the reason why I thought this was interesting to me, I didn't think that was still an option. I didn't think it was still an option to, go after a player like Zach LaVine because of the money, and you got rid of D'Lo's contract. I think that a move like that basically says you're giving yourself a shot over the next 1 to 2 years to try to make one more run. Which I will tell you this. If the entire concept, this entire time that we've been talking over the last year or so, we keep saying you're either all in or you're not. You can't be in the middle. And where have the Lakers ended up over the last couple of years? Right in the middle. And I'm talking about where they were in the West standings. Remember, they're 7 through 10 basically every year. They're a play-in tournament team every single year. Now, did they get to the Western Conference Finals? They did. Give them credit for getting to the Western Conference Finals. Did some things have to work their way? Sure. But you know what? That happens in sports sometimes. So I'm not overly against that. I just go back to what I just said. At the end of the day, are you all in or are you not? That move, that this isn't just a random person that wrote an article. It's Dave McMenamin. That's McMenamin putting something out there of just it's a trade scenario. It's a trade conversation. That move means we put all our chips in front of the table and we're all in. There is no, there is no hesitation. Then they're all in. All right, let's see what else we got here. Impossible. They're not asking for picks. Impossible. Unless the idea is they're just trying to clear salary, but impossible that Chicago would not ask for picks. Impossible. Everybody knows Lakers have those picks. Everybody knows, that those picks could be what makes those picks so valuable. What makes them so valuable is the fact that where do you think the Lakers might be in 2029? I was having this conversation. Was it with Eric Pincus? I think it was with Pincus. And Pincus was talking about people are looking at those Laker picks, the 2029 and 2031. They're saying to themselves, oh my gosh, what will this team look like in 5 years from now? And I think it's a legitimate conversation. The Lakers are going to have to figure out a lot once LeBron is gone. What will Anthony Davis want to do once LeBron is gone? I think those are fair questions. All right, if you enjoyed this clip and you want more, just subscribe to the channel. Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. is the Sliwa Show. And then after every Lakers game, post-game show right here.